Hey guys, Ningen here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and those of you who have been around the channel for a while know that we always put out one of these at the start of a new world tournament, talking about the reward card that you get and whether or not it is worth grinding the upper ranks of the tournament to get extra copies. So obviously a couple of tournaments ago they added the feature where you get one copy of the card as a reward for, I believe it's 23 million points overall, which I know most people usually do at least the 30 million points to complete all the missions. So that gives you one copy of him, and then they've updated it now. I think it's the top 2,000 you have to finish in to get one copy as a reward. So for most people, if you get to top 3, if you get your 30 million and then potentially keep playing it for a little bit after that, even if you don't go too ham, you might get into the top 2k. That gets you 2 copies, so that's a decent place to start. And then the whole point of these videos is to discuss whether or not the unit is actually worth going for those extra copies. If you were maybe on the fence about doing that. I know some people out there are either going to go hard or not bother either way. So let's go through what he does. So first of all, obviously we didn't know, we only saw the very brief art when the tournament was announced that it had an Android 17, which of course we now know is a Hellfighter 17. So of course the GT version of Android 17 built in Hell. This is actually quite a good point, because of course we already have lots of Android 17s in the game, some of which are very good. So chances are, if this guy was just called Android 17, he would definitely have a lot less value, because you're probably not going to use him on your team over some of the other Android 17s that are available. Whereas if we have a look, I brought up the only 2 other Hellfighter 17s worth talking about. This is the farmable one from the GT Android Saga Story event. Funnily enough, the units are actually very similar, except the World Tournament one is just better in like every way. But that also means if you want to use your keys or wait until this event comes back, it does mean he has a farmable super attack as well. So he's not bad. And then of course there's the int one that has an awakening to TUR. He's not terrible, he does supreme damage, rare chance to stun, which is only 20%, and then he gives himself 90% attack and 2 ki when facing only one enemy, which is a bit of an annoying restriction nowadays. And of course he gives himself no defense, so neither of them are particularly good. There is a Tech SR one as well, but he's only really there to awaken into Super 17 to use for his super attack or as an extreme tech orb changer, so he's not really worth mentioning. But if we look at this guy, extreme damage, lowers attack, and he has a 50% chance to dodge. So now if we have a look at our actual world tournament reward 17, so he's got a strength types leader skill, key 3, stats 50%, which is not terrible for a free to play card. And then his super attack, he does supreme damage and lowers attack. So yet another unit that lowers attack for the Android team, and he at least does supreme damage as opposed to the extreme damage of the AGL one. And then yeah, he also has this 50% chance to evade enemies' attacks, including super attacks. But he's a support unit, and he's very much like the STR Goku Black from the previous World Tournament, where he gives 2 different categories a 20% attack and 10% defense boost. And of course, if the units on your team are in both categories, they get both of the boosts. So the first one is for Androids category, and then the second one is Artificial Lifeforms, which if you have a look down here, they are the only 2 categories that he is actually on. But that means he's going to be very good on Android or Artificial Lifeform teams that are running a couple of the Cell units. So if you have either of the LR cells or the Tech Easy A cell, I think someone posted something earlier about the fact that the medals for the STR one are potentially in the files, so the STR one could be getting his Easy A on global very soon. Both of those are of course in the Androids and Artificial Lifeforms categories, so they will be getting 40% attack and 20% defense when this guy is on the rotation. So one of the things that is really good about him, units like the Tech Buller do this as well, and of course the STR Goku Black, because they are very similar, is the fact that they are support units. Actually, I guess STR Goku Black doesn't do this, he just has attack lowering, but the Buller is a good example. A support unit that has a built-in chance to dodge is obviously very, very useful, because even without dupes, if you just pick up your 1 copy of this guy from the 23 million points and then you literally stopped playing the world tournament there, he would still be a pretty decent support unit for either of these teams, because even without dupes he has a 50% chance to dodge all attacks, which is obviously very, very useful. I've already done the androids no items super battle road run, but having units that lowered attack was obviously very, very useful in that. But we used units like the STR Android 18 from the barbershop, whereas this guy does kind of the same thing. I think their buffs are, she probably gives slightly more defense, I think he gives slightly more attack, but then the fact that, yeah, he has a 50% chance to dodge built in, which even if you max out most of these other units dodge in potential, if you've got all their paths unlocked, the most you can give them is like 15 dodge, or 20 if they are an int unit, whereas obviously 50% is essentially the equivalent of having level 50 dodge. So he is a very, very good support unit. The Artificial Lifeforms team doesn't have some of the best support units. We obviously got that free to play arms with the hero stuff when it finally came to global, and he is another one that supports 2 different categories. But this guy definitely going to be very useful on any teams, like I said, where you're running multiple cells, and the fact that of course he is a Hellfighter 17 and not Android 17 is going to be very useful. So his link skills are very common to all the Hellfighter 17s and most of the Android 17s, to be fair. He has Android Assault, Fear and Faith, Brutal Beatdown, Nightmare, Shocking Speed, and of course he has GT. I mean, that's probably not going to come into play too much. There is obviously the int GT cell, or the free-to-play physical one, but they're both units that I feel like if you are running them on your team, they're probably going to be off rotation, so they're never going to end up on the same rotation as this guy to get that extra link, but it is only for key. So Brutal Beatdown, Android Assault is obviously one that will come up quite a lot. In fact, our boy, the Lobster God himself, Super Android 17, is of course on Androids and Artificial Lifeforms, and I know he does have Android Assault GT, obviously. I think he might even have Shocking Speed, so they're going to share a lot of links. So whilst I wouldn't necessarily suggest that you run this guy on main rotation with him, if you end up putting the Super 17 in the middle spot with this guy in the final slot, you will be getting a huge benefit from those links as well. So yeah, not a crazy unit. Like I said, he's very similar to the STR Goku Black, but he has this built-in dodge chance, which I think is something that immediately gives him a lot more value. But of course, as we said, you don't actually need any dupes in him to take full advantage of this. And if you do finish high enough in the rankings to at least get that one extra free copy, you probably want to put all of the ability points into additional, because there's no point giving him dodge if he already has what is the equivalent of level 50 dodge. He gets a free level 5 crit for being an STR unit, so if you end up opening his bottom right path with that dupe and bumming up his super attack to 10, you're going to give him like 9 additional, so that you get the extra chances of firing off these attack lowering super attacks, because we talked about that quite a lot in all of the no items super battle road runs, that lowering the enemy's attack is incredibly useful. So if he can get off some additionals, and then the fact that he has the chance to take 0 damage himself, he's going to provide a lot of utility to your team. And then just having a quick look down at his stats, he's actually got pretty decent stats as well. He's got over 10,000 HP and over 11,000 attack. Close to 8,000 defense, really not bad for a free-to-play unit. And then of course there is the factor that we kind of know, even though a lot of them are further down the line, all of the World Tournament units end up getting awakenings. So at some point he will get a TUR awakening to level 120, and all of these abilities will become slightly better. So he's definitely a decent unit with the potential to become even better in the future. So I would say that if you are considering going for that little bit of an extra grind to get a couple of extra copies of him, I think he's definitely worth it. If you have LR Super Baby and you run the Artificial Lifeforms team, I think he's probably one of the best support units that you can run on that team, and he's going to be very good on the Android team as well, thanks to the fact that he has the unique name from being Hellfighter 17. So let me know what you think of him down below in the comments. Are you going to be going hard on the World Tournament this weekend, or is it a bit of a skip for you? I know a lot of people out there just like to complete the missions and get all of the mission rewards, so you are at least going to get yourself one copy of him. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. I will be probably streaming some of the World Tournament while it's going on, so stay tuned to the channel and I will see you guys then. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.